Located within the framework of legality in circumstances where on your own testimony you have not authorized an investigation?
There is no legality that I can point to, commissioners.
And it's important because as we go through these matters, one gets a sense, and I may be wholly wrong, and I would need you to help me to change my mind. It would sound like everybody in IDAC is on a frolic of their own. And this is the start now with this particular investigation. And as we'll see going forward, that seems to permeate through the organization. Is my understanding correct or wholly wrong? And I do accept, I may have the wrong end of the stick.
They don't go on a frolic of their own. Okay. We do adhere to the processes and the prescripts. I'm not saying someone may not deviate. Investigators are out in the field. If there is a deviation and it comes to the fore, then we have to deal with it and understand why the deviation. But there isn't a frolic of their own. They have to adhere to the internal processes. And as I did indicate to commissioners yesterday, apart from the legislation, we have tried to operationalize things in a practical manner. But if they have worked outside of the accepted framework, which is common knowledge in IDAC, then I take the point that Council makes.
Can I just express the point differently? That you don't have standard operating procedures. You don't have protocols. And I say this because from the first day that you testified, as you were reading your statement, the question kept coming up, do you have anything that regulates this internally? And you kept saying, it's how we practice, it's what we do. So the comment comes from that context, that you seem to have these unwritten rules of how we do things, and which allow people, your people, to make it up as they go along. You know, if Mr. Perumal, Chief Perumal, wants to speak to Mr. Adams, there's no prescribed process that wait until we've made a decision. If what you say happened is in fact what happened, then you're telling us there's no prescribed process that he can be held to that says to him, until there is a decision that we are taking this matter on, you may not engage with a complainant or any potential witness because this and this and this could go wrong, right? About it, we all have to wait until a decision is made. If you don't have that kind of operating procedure prescribed, you could never blame him for rushing off to go and hold his conversation, whatever the content of the conversation may be, including if he chooses to prompt witnesses, you know, give me names. Do you have names? Your affidavit doesn't have names. Give me names. And what are you saying about those names? There's nothing that you could say you acted out of the boundaries of what is acceptable according to our prescripts. Is that not a fair comment to make?
I take your point. If you would allow me just to add something.
Yeah.
It's not that we work without process. There are processes that are mapped out in the majority of, you get to section 27, when you get to 27, what it is that we must, there's a few of the, not a few, there's quite a few of those processes, Commissioner Baloy, that have been made practical for operational purposes. The point that is important that you make is...
When you say made practical, what do you mean? That everyone understands that's how we do it?
Process map.
Okay.
So they are process mapped.
Okay.
So there are those process maps. The point that you make that becomes important for a future consideration is what are all the eventualities that we should prepare for if you take this example? And did we prepare for those eventualities? And I think that is an important point that Commissioner makes, and one that I have to agree is we didn't process map every eventuality. It therefore in itself becomes a flaw in the process, in step 1 to step 2. But if something happens in between, what are the do's and don'ts? And in that environment, it has been somewhat difficult to process map every single thing. But I do take your point.
Yes, I don't want you to misunderstand me, to be saying your processes must provide for every eventuality. That would be to put too high a demand and standard that are on you and may prove to be impractical. It's not anything close to that I'm suggesting. What I'm suggesting is, and maybe let me put it kind of differently, it is, I would expect that Chief Perumal and everybody in IDAC, not just you, everybody knows that before a decision is made to take on a case, we do not speak to witnesses. We do not speak to complainants. I would expect that.
Correct.
And if there is such a position, and then we are able to judge Chief Perumal's conduct, that you acted outside of a prescribed protocol in that you went and consulted with a complainant, a potential complainant, even before a decision was made to take on this case for investigation. I'm speaking to that we have to have a measure against which we measure and consider what you say Chief Perumal did, that he went and got a list of people who are not in the Section 27, before you made a decision to take the matter on. At the very least, it's a point of curiosity. Why would and how would he have gone and gotten these names if there was no decision yet at that point? And I would want to be able to say to him, you acted to him, not you, to him, Chief, you acted contrary to your operating procedures. Explain why in this case you did that. You understand the point I'm making?
I understand the point you are making, Commissioner Baloy.
Yes.
And I did say yesterday that or one of the days, sorry if I got my days mixed, but as has been the case when a Section 27 is maybe lacking in some or other detail, I just want that clarification. I'm not taking it to Mr. Perumal, that we do engage with the referee for purposes of clarity and or more information. That is allowed. But in terms of you can't do it. There's no hard and fast rule that you can't do it. It's preferable you really don't do it, except for purposes of clarity, where the Section 27 may lack sufficiency of detail in terms of the requirements of is there reasonable suspicion made out, etc., etc. Those are the grounds on which I would
Yes, I understand you explained that yesterday. I would expect that in that process of seeking clarifications, that's a formal process. It's recorded. It is a formal process. You may not at that point yet have decided to take on the case, but I would expect that there would be a record that Chief Perumal spoke to Mr. Adams on this day, and this is what was discussed between them. Otherwise, if you don't have that kind of formal record, then there's no accountability whatsoever. You have no idea what your people are doing. So yes. I expect that there must be a formal process, and Chief Perumal should be able to say to us that I got an instruction I got this Section 27 from the ID on this date, right? And we determined, or I determined, that it requires particulars. I met with Mr. Adams on this day, right? And here's what I discussed with him. These are the questions I asked him, and this is where I got these names. I'm talking about that kind of process. It has to be in place. Otherwise, you are in an environment where people indeed get to do what they decide is appropriate without any guidance.
Yes, there should be a record in the person's diary.
Yes.
And or an information note compiled.
Yes.
Of what the engagement was. I
You
agree with you,
said that.
Commissioner.
Okay, thank you.
Advocate Johnson, just for clarity, you said that your processes do not cover all eventualities. What I want to know is whether, with regard to the Fadil complaint, I'm very sorry, the Fadil Adams complaint or issue, there was anything out of the ordinary which would not have been covered by your processes?
Not that I can think of, Commissioner.
Thank you.
Sorry, Chair. I cannot. Yes, Chair. Sorry.
Thank you, thank you.
Good morning, Advocate Johnson.
Good morning, Commissioner Kumar.
The list of names, so what Advocate Sello started with, I had understood you that you say the list of names came from Mr. Adams.
According to the prosecutor, yes.
Yes, and those names were not in the Section 27 referral, the affidavit.
That is correct, Commissioner.
Yes. Now, your Section 2813 authorization, we were in file 8 on 3282.
Sorry, the reference, Commissioner?
File 8,
Yes, I have file 8.
page 3282.
38
3282.
3282. I am there.
So
Commissioner.
I've moved past Mr. Perumal. We are now dealing with the ID's conduct. What you are saying in this authorization is that you have reason to believe that the offenses you've mentioned on page 1 have been committed or are being committed by the people listed in the annexure. And then you mention the 12 people. Now, what was the factual basis for your conclusion or your reason to believe that 8 of the 12 people there have committed the offenses listed on page 1 and they should be investigated? Because the only people who were mentioned in the affidavit, we know it was 3 or 4 people, and the offenses those 3 or 4 people had committed were mentioned in the Section 27 affidavit. Now, if all Mr. Adams gives Mr. Perumal is a list of names, and it's now 12 people, what is the factual basis for you coming to a conclusion, as you do, on 3283, that you have reason to believe that the persons in the annexure have committed the offenses you mentioned on page 1 of the same authorization?
Commissioner Kumalo, that would have been the application for the authorization. I did ask that that be sent, and Advocate Maga, I did send through to him. I think when we were about to conclude yesterday afternoon, it was yourself, Commissioner Kumalo, who reminded that this should have come from somewhere, and usually there's an application, and I indicated that the application is not with this document, and we did ask for that document, and the document has been procured that shows an application, and in that application these names are also mentioned.
But if the prosecutor has not engaged with Mr. Adams, and all you've given the prosecutor is the Section 27 affidavit, how can the prosecutor come to you and say, I have reason to believe that people whose names are not mentioned in the affidavit, whose conduct is not mentioned in the affidavit, have committed such serious offenses as you list in 1.1 to 1.11 on page 3282? Where would the prosecutor get that from? Because all you've given the prosecutor is the affidavit. And on what basis would you then form a view that the people whose names are unknown to you, there's no complaint in respect of these people, there's no affidavit suggesting that any of these people have done anything wrong? How do you arrive at a conclusion, or how do you form a view that they have committed such serious offenses and should be investigated?
I would just like to, if I can, have sight of the application. But I hear the point that you are making, Commissioner. She was provided with the names. She would have had to indicate then in the summation whether or not they are linked and how they are linked. And that is what, if we could just look at that so that I do not, I took Commissioner Baloy's point yesterday afternoon.
But you see, my difficulty remains that all you give her is the affidavit. Then you give her a list of names.
So,
My difficulty is this, that you give her the affidavit. We have seen the Section 27 affidavit. It doesn't mention most of the people in the annexure. It does not say any of these people have committed offenses. You give her that affidavit, and then you say you gave her a list of names. That's all you gave her, without saying what those people did or what their involvement is. All you gave her was a list of names. What could she write back to you based only on the affidavit and the list of names that would make you form a view that these people have committed such serious crimes that would justify an investigation against them?
the application would have had to link them to the offenses. And I would just like to see that part. But what I have to concede, Commissioner Khumalo, is in the absence of there being a link between what is said in the 27 and the list of names,
That should be the only link.
yeah, then they shouldn't be included.
They should not have been included in this annexure, because even you, as you got that application, you would say to her, but these people are not in the affidavit. No allegation is made against them. So where would you have got this link for you to include these people in the application that you give to me? Because the same affidavit you would have seen before it went to the prosecutor.
Would be the
So there's nothing the prosecutor could have told you that you did not already know based on the affidavit and based on the list which you gave to the prosecutor. So for you to form the view that these people have committed fraud, defeating the ends of justice, breach of these various statutes, there has to be a factual basis. It cannot just be made in the dark, and then IDAC uses its powers to attack, or to, attack is a strong word, let me withdraw that, to target South African citizens without any factual basis and without any legal basis, and decide that it's going to conduct an investigation against them. I would understand if you said, Mr. Adams came back with a supplemented Section 27 affidavit, and in that affidavit, he made allegations against these people and told IDAC what conduct on their part constitutes an offense, because that would have been a basis for you to authorize an investigation against them. But in the absence of that, I cannot see how you could have authorized an investigation against many of these people listed in the annexure. Do you want to comment?
I can take the point no further.
But you accept?
I accept the point, because the information came, when you look at the documentation, he's made statements, it is after that date, and commissioners are referring me to as at, and I can take it no further, Commissioner Khumalo.
One or two questions before the last question. I heard you say, if I could see something, Did you mean there's something you would want to look at in order for you to respond meaningfully, or did I misunderstand you? I'm asking because if there is something you want to see, perhaps you should articulate that fully so that you are afforded an opportunity to see that.
Thank you, Chair. The document I wanted to see was the application that Advocate Ramsamy would have submitted towards this authorization. I just wanted to see if, in fact, in that document, she stipulates anything about the link. But we can do that in an adjournment, and I can come back to that point.
Yes,
but
yes.
I do take Commissioner Komalo's point
Yes,
and agree that beyond that, I can take it no further. It is as it stands
Yes, yes.
at the time.
All right, when we resume, perhaps then after the tea adjournment, you should indicate if you want to revisit this point or this issue.
Thank you, Chair.
Thank you.
Can I say though, Advocate Johnson, that the linking of these names to any specific factual allegation would not be in the submission from the prosecutor. It would be in whatever submission was made to you by Chief Perumal. So the one that gives, by the time you give the list to the prosecutor, Ms. Ramsamy in this case, you already have been told these people are implicated. Otherwise, it would defy logic and how you reasoned this, that all you got was a list, and then you didn't ask Chief Perumal. If this was done verbally, if this was done verbally, you did not, you had nothing in writing. If you don't have it in writing, in which case I would expect you to give us whatever submission Chief Perumal gave to you, which must explain why he's giving you these names, who are these people, how are they implicated, and then you give that to the prosecutor to say, include this in your application. Or he told you verbally why these names must be included in that list, or why are they relevant. So it seems to me that the answer doesn't lie in the prosecutor's submission to you unless you say to us, I did tell the prosecutor why these names, how are they implicated, and why they should be in that list. So you would be looking at the wrong document, it seems to me. And I'm not saying don't look at it. Maybe the answer does lie there. But in my thought process, whoever gave you the list must have said to you, this is how they are implicated, for you to be satisfied that indeed they should be included in this list. And you've heard what we say about the power that authorization you gave, what it imposes, and the burden that it imposes on those people. So with that preface, did you discuss or ask Chief Perumal when he gave you this list, why these people, how are they implicated?
As I indicated this morning, Commissioner Baloy, I had no independent recollection. And so I don't want to venture a guess whether or not I even had a conversation, except that when the list was given to the prosecutor, there was no reason why she may not have, I'm not saying she did, why she may not have had an engagement with Mr. Perumal as they were part of that team. But that is mere speculation. And I do take the point that you make.
The difficulty I have with your answer is the question yesterday on this topic was, you were going to find out where did you get this list from. Yes. And logic dictates to me that once you were told by Ms. Ramsamy that you told her that you got it from Chief Perumal, that's who you would speak to. That's my expectation. And I know it's a fair and reasonable expectation that once you were reminded, because that's all that Ms. Ramsamy seems to have done for you, is to remind you that, no, you're wrong, it didn't come from me. I got it from you, and you told me you got it from Chief Perumal, you have to explain why did you not ask Chief Perumal? Confirm I got this from, because we know you've been talking to him. You've been asked as you were testifying some questions, and you've come back and said, I've spoken to Chief Perumal. On this question, the expectation, and I don't know why you wouldn't have done it, is once you were reminded, you would have called Chief Perumal and said, remind me, did I get this list from you? He says yes. Then you say, especially because I said to you, it appears like an abuse of power. And in the light of that, I would have expected you to say, why did you give it to me? Why did you say to me, these people are relevant? Can you just explain why you did not speak to him about this, so that you give us a complete answer? Because it's not helpful. In fact, it doesn't take the matter any further for you to say, I spoke to Ms. Ramsame and she said, I told her it came from Chief Perumal. Well, we're exactly where we were yesterday.
Correct.
So why did you not speak to Chief Perumal, ask him, confirm you gave me the list? And then the next logical question, because of yesterday's discussion, would have been, where did you get these names from? How did you go about getting them? Why did we include them? Can you just explain why that did not happen?
I did speak to Mr. Perumal.
Okay.
And Mr. Perumal has no recollection.
Okay. That he gave you the list.
That he gave me the list.
Okay.
I said to him, I conveyed the message of the prosecutor, and he conveyed to me he has no recollection of having given us or given me a list.
Okay. I guess let me leave it there for now. Thank you.
Thank you, commissioners. I would like us to consider